Hello and welcome to On the Mark, a discussion dedicated to local, state, and national issues affecting government and its bosses, the people. I'm your host, Mark Poloncarz, the Erie County, New York executive. And in the coming weeks and months, I'll be joined by leaders from across the country to talk about issues that impact us all, from healthcare delivery, budgetary constraints, the effect of recent federal actions on local and state government, actions local government is taking, to infrastructure investment and beyond. But before we begin, I think it's important to discuss my view of government and what is the guiding view of my administration. I believe that government can be a force of good in people's lives, and it should be, because a government at its core is a representation of its people, the embodiment of its collective goals. It should be aspirational in nature, a manifestation of our better angels, and be the captain of the communal ship setting the course for all. That's my good view of government and how we've managed Erie County's finances for the last 14 years. However, government is not a static entity. It must be a proactive force to address the needs of its constituents, as well as reactive to support its citizens in the time of need, whether it be in response to a disaster, domestic terrorism, such as occurred in our community in May 2022 at the Schinzel at the Top Supermarket in Buffalo, and everything that we've all dealt with, including the global pandemic. So let's get started with the discussion on a slightly lighter topic today, but an example of what a government should do, and that's talking about parks, parkland, forestry areas. Erie County is proud to have a tremendous park system with more than 10,000 acres to enjoy, from beaches, golf courses, to hiking areas, great recreational areas, as well as hundreds of acres of forest. And today, we're joined by our Erie County Parks Commissioner, Troy Schinzel. This is not Troy's first time in county government. Actually, Troy joined me as the Parks Commissioner when I first took office in 2012, at a time we'll talk about when parks were really in disarray in Erie County. He left with his wife to pursue a job opportunity in Texas, but we were very glad when we were looking for a new commissioner a few years after that, when he reached out and said, "We're thinking about coming back to Buffalo. Would it be interesting in getting my job back?" And the answer was yes, because he did a great job during that first term and is doing a wonderful job now. So welcome to On the Mark, Troy, and tell the people who may not know you a little bit more about yourself.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate it. And thanks for having me back for a second time. So I lucky enough to be Commissioner of Parks in 2012 to almost the end of 2015. And like you said, I came back in the summer of 2019 to my current tenure. And it's been an unbelievable ride. But before that, I was educated in Parks Recreation. I went to school for Parks Recreation at Poloncarz College and Slippery Rock University. And I was fortunate enough to work for a great county government, another county government in New Jersey. Spent 15 years in county government in New Jersey, several different positions, and then came home. This is when I born and raised here. Came home in 2011, and in 2012 was honored that you appointed me as Commissioner of Parks in Erie County. Like you said, we left for 4 years to go to Dallas for an opportunity for my wife. And I actually worked for City of Dallas Parks, so still in the parks wheelhouse, and I helped them establish a park ranger program and some other initiatives at Dallas before coming back home.
You had experience in establishing a parks ranger program. I did that in our first term, but give the people an idea of how bad the parks department and our parks were when we took over, because it was pretty dire.
Yeah, it really was, Mark. It was, it literally probably took myself 6 months plus to wrap my hands around the acres, the properties, the buildings, the priorities, how do we start prioritizing? What do we need to target first? Because it's a lot. We had, at that point, we had half the full-time staff we currently do today. So, the job is tough today to keep up with the 10,000 acres and the things we do. Think about half the full-time staff we do today. So it was a lot of infrastructure or neglected infrastructure. And we have collectively worked so hard together to break that up to an unbelievable level.
Yeah. Well, people, when they look at parks, they think, oh, it's just something that you cut the grass, but there's so much more to it. And when we took over, as you said, the park staff was pretty much decimated. To give you an idea, we have 10,000 acres to enjoy, we joke, which most people can't really wrap their head around. But we have one park, Chestnut Ridge Park, which has more than 1,200 acres just in that park alone. That's one of the largest parks, county parks in the United States, and it's comparable in size to many state parks. It's not national park size, but it's a big size park. And you need a lot of staff to do more than just cut grass or plow snow in the winter, just to maintain trails, make sure the recreational areas, the shelters, and the other facilities are in good shape. And when you have a park system this large, it's like a little mini government in itself because you're managing many areas that are different. You've got everything from pocket parks in the city of Buffalo to vast swaths of forestry. We've got beaches, we got golf courses. What do you think is the toughest part of the job as well as the most rewarding part of the job?
Both. The toughest part of the job is, listen, we're open 365 days a year. We don't close. So we close at night and we have hours like that, but we're always open. And the toughest part of the job is to gear up for a 365-day operation. And that's from staffing to rentals. It's the year-round commitment to try to make sure we're doing our very best in every aspect. And it switches. It's not the same. It's not cookie cutter. We're not doing the same thing in June that we're doing in September that we're doing in December. And probably the training of staff has been the biggest hurdle. I'm lucky enough to say today we have some really, really strong staff. I can't always say that was the case. To your point, we mow grass with coming in, and we mow grass and we plow snow. It's so much more than that. The public interaction and talk about Barbary Defolium and the building upkeep. And we have skills now within the department that we did not have, from mechanics to carpenters, electricians, plumbers, environmental educators, people that help us oversee projects, big projects, $1 million projects. So I think that's been the biggest obstacle and one that we put a lot of time and energy towards.
What about satisfying? What's the most satisfying part of the job?
Not very often do I step back and smell the roses. But when I do, when I look at 2012, 2013, 2026, I'm honestly, I'm amazed. I'm amazed. To your point, one of the things you've always said is our job is to leave it in better shape than we got here. I could say without a doubt, this department is the department to be reckoned with. We offer so much more to the public in terms of programming, recreational pursuits, and opportunities, and environmental. We offer things that in 2012 we could be having. I think that's the most rewarding thing for me is to grow.
Yeah, I definitely can say our park system is in so much better shape than when we took it. And I often said that because the parks I like to say are the people's country clubs. Not everybody can afford country clubs. And most people can't, but they can go to a park because it's free. And they take ownership of the park. That's their park. And what we find is we want people to feel like not only is it their park, that their park is cared for and managed. And the one thing that I think is important about parks, and we'll get to this other question I have in a second, is these date back decades and decades. And we just celebrated the 100th anniversary of the creation of our park system. And those people back then were stewards for the future. They took what basically in some areas was just old farmland and converted it into forests by planting trees that would not grow and be utilized for at least 20 years. So we have to be stewards of the parks for the future generations that are coming. And in line with that, one of the really cool things about Erie County Park System is it had a tremendous development during the Franklin Roosevelt administration under the Works Progress administration, which built all kinds of structures, buildings, and the like. It's great. They're historic. However, there's also a downside. So tell me what it's like to try to maintain a historic park system with buildings that are beautiful, but are pretty old.
Yeah, so there's where the tough decisions need to be made. We're having this conversation the other day. Chestnut Ridge Park you talked about. There's 15 WPA restroom facilities in Chestnut Ridge Park. We just began renovation, rehabbing our 11th restroom facility. It's probably the last one we're going to do. The other 4 locations where it just doesn't make sense to do that, spend that kind of capital investment. but this is the last of the WPA restrooms that we're rehabbing. Each one of those is anywhere from probably $350 to $550. That's $1,000 to $550. No. So to your point, it's amazing that we have these historical structures, casinos, restroom facilities, shelters in our parks, but there's a cost to that. And when they've been neglected for decades, that cost comes quickly, and you have to make up a lot of capital investments over the last few decades that we have to get to the level we're at. So there's a cost with that. So tough decisions have to be made from time.
Yeah, it's one of the things that I don't think people truly understand is the cost to maintain structures that already exist. It's like roads. Everybody wants their road repaired. They want a brand new blacktop every year. However, it's very expensive to do a mile of road. As you know, it's very expensive to do a bathroom that dates back 100 years. And of course, they didn't have what was called the Americans with Disabilities Act. There's nothing about ADA compliance. They were totally different, much more natural than what people expect today. So you have to try to retain the look, but make it a modern facility. And that's not easy.
No, it was a challenge. But in each one of those renovations, we include the accessibility portion of that. Obviously, site work portion of that we do. We're trying to make decisions on the construction that would lower our maintenance responsibilities moving forward, metal roofs and things of that nature. So it's been a challenge, and that's just a rich park. We have 5 heritage parks, the WP structures, and those.
And I think it's something that what's really neat about our county is in the park system is we have these heritage parks that date back to the WPA area. We have a lot of other parks, and often people will go to their park and not get to the others. We saw a change during COVID when people started coming around to other parks just to see what the other parks were like when they really couldn't go anywhere else. But it's tough when you have Chestnut Ridge Park's a good example. It's the largest park. It gets the most foot traffic. But there are other parks, Ellicott Creek, Como, Akron Falls, or the newer parks, which aren't that new, but not WPA, or Sprague Brook and the like. And there are still thousands and thousands of people that are coming through there on an annual basis. And we're talking about, as you said, 365 days a year, which in the Buffalo area means it may be 80 degrees out now. It could be 8 degrees in January, but you still have activities. Yeah. We still have skiing. We have skating. We have sledding. And that requires basically a whole different mentality, doesn't it?
Yeah. And it really, I bring in our staff a lot of credit, right? The same staff that are mowing grass and maintaining restrooms and opening up shelters and welcoming public are the same staff that are grooming sled hills and cross country skiing. So it's a job that you have to want to do. And it's not easy, and I give our staff a ton of credit for that. But we've ramped up to do that. It's a challenge, but it's been an amazing ride.
Yeah, what's really cool about government is you have an opportunity to do something that makes people's lives better, and we see that in the parks. Very rarely do you run into someone who's angry or unhappy about something in the parks. They're happy, whether it's hiking or sledding in the winter or ice skating. We've got these multiple large natural areas where people can skate, play hockey. And in the same area, you're watching people play soccer during the summer in those areas. So as you consider the needs going forward, now that we've invested a lot, and we've invested millions and millions in our parks over the 10-year, what do you think is the biggest thing going forward? Is it we are going to try to expand the offerings, or is it just maintaining it at a level it is today?
It's a combination of both. I think one of the exciting projects we're currently working on is Willowdale.
Mm-hmm.
That's a 180-acre expansion in the area of Erie County, frankly, that we're not well represented. So, that park / golf course in the next 2-3 years is going to be just an amazing addition to our roster, but certainly in the people in that area to use that home rule in that park, that golf course park is going to be amazing. So we're at it.
Yeah, for those who are familiar from this area, Willowdale is a project to convert the old Westwood Country Club in the town of Amherst, which was an 18-hole golf course, to restoring 9 of the holes and then creating the area that was the other 9, a passive park where people could walk around and see wildlife. But it's in the town of Amherst, which does not have a county park rate. The town has more than 120,000 residents. That's larger than a significant portion of the counties in the United States. So this is going to be a very large park in an area that is hustling and bustling. And it's something new that we're offering. And I think that's the key, is that we are able to occasionally offer something new to our residents. It costs money to do it. This is going to cost how much probably to do it?
Well, we're $7 million in right now. We know that investment's going to increase over the years, but it's the cost of doing business to renovate a 9-hole golf course. It used to be 18, where I turned into a 9-hole golf course, 7 in the original holes, dating back to the Willdale Country Club, and create a park. But there'll be restroom facilities there, accessible playgrounds there. There'll be a pro shop. We need to do the maintenance building. So we're $7 million already at, and there'll be continued investments. And that's just not even the staff.
And it's interesting because people in general want their taxes lowered.
Yes.
However, they also want their taxes that they're paid to be spent in something that they feel is worthwhile. And there's, as much as I've heard through the years, hey, Poloncarz, lower my taxes, very rarely have I said or heard somebody say, hey, lower my taxes and close a park. Bingo. They don't want their parks closed. They don't want their libraries closed. They don't want these things that create quality of life. They actually want more investment in them. And that's what we try to do, but it's difficult when you're managing budgets to do it in a manner that you can meet all the needs of the community and at the same time lower taxes, because that's tough to do. Our expenses go up annually, just like everyone's. Give me an example of what you've seen in the budgets for the Parks Department, let's say the 2026 budget, just compared to the 2022 budget. How much have your costs gone up and impacted your ability to then provide services unless we say, go ahead and increase your budget, we'll find a way to pay for it?
It's big. They increase. They're going to increase the cost of consumables, the cost of construction material, the cost of salaries, the cost of fringe. Everything's going up. So we cannot maintain the parks at the level it's currently at unless decisions of removing certain parts of them or not doing certain work that, quite frankly, I believe you feel needs to be done to maintain them at a very high level. It is going to go up, and there's a cost of that. I truly believe that people in Erie County understand the value within the Parks Department and the parks that they visit, and if they're not, they should be, because there's opportunity for everyone. In some, whether it wasn't certainly you want to golf, you want to picnic, you want to walk, you want to swim at a beach, you want to camp at a campground. I believe we have it for everything. So the costs are going to continue to go up. We need to be smart and we need to be proactive in how we're going to maintain these areas. I never wanted to create a parks department that simply was just too cost effective to maintain. So we've had to make some hard decisions. Some structures are no longer with us because of that. Some things that we wanted to do, maybe we don't do this year. That's because of just the budgeting. It's a tough time to add new initiatives and things.
I'm not going to ask you which is your favorite county park, because that'd be like asking a parent which is their favorite kid.
That's correct.
But of the parks outside of Erie County, what is your favorite park, national, state, county, that you visited, and why?
Oh,
put you on the spot.
Yeah. So if you went in Texas, I was at Cattle Lake. It was probably the neatest. It's on the border, obviously, Louisiana and Texas, and we'd have to spend about a week there. And just to being from Buffalo, the geography was just amazing to me. It's the only natural lake in the state of Texas, and just the border with the swamp grasses and the moss. And look, I fell in love with the place. My wife and I got to visit there, to bring the dogs there. I think. I've been in Colorado, and I've been out there visiting some areas, but that was just such a unique lake park. It's surrounded all by park and the whole entire lake structure. That just always rings up there as a special place. Matter of fact, some memories came up on the phone a couple of days. I shared them with my wife, going, remember this, and it was just something I've never seen before. Yeah, really neat.
That's cool. It's the kind of stuff that you can find, especially when people think in parks, they think in national parks like Yellowstone. But there's these smaller parks that maybe you never heard of that may be maintained by a county or a state, and they are astronomical. That reminds me, I took a trip with my father across country. We went to Yellowstone, but a couple of people said, you got to get the Custer State Park in South Dakota, which was phenomenal. It was absolutely incredible. And it was a state park that I hadn't heard of until somebody told me about it, and was back down there when I was back in South Dakota a couple of years later, checked it out again just because it was such a cool park. I want to ask you, what's upcoming in the Erie County Parks Department with regards to events, because it's not just about maintaining parks. It's about providing recreation activities and other things through our park ranger program. So do we have some really cool things in the upcoming weeks and months?
Yeah, I first thing I'll say is just check our website. There's so much activity and so many things happening, but we have Friday field days ongoing. We have the senior.
Now, what is that?
So Friday field days are an opportunity for people to sign up and work with our senior environmental compliance and make a difference. Go to different parks and make a difference, whether it's invasives, whether it's plantings, whether it's cleanups. So we got people get their hands dirty and they get to do things. Yeah, people can help us out, which we talk about partnerships forever. And then we have the senior hikes, working with the Office of Aging, partnered with them. Erie County, we offer senior hikes, senior-led hikes, and we have staff. It could be a park ranger, it could be a variety of staff that we have within house, and they'll take hikes in various parks. And there's different levels from moderate to easy, and those have been big success. We're at the fair. Fair's okay. We'll be at the fair. Please visit us at the fair. We're at the fair every year. We have tabling events at the Bison's game as well. And we just, the adventure bus, I will say, we had a press conference this morning at the Schinzel Flame to talk about safety, and our park rangers are all over our 10,000 acres. And if anyone ever wants to take a guided walk to the Eternal Flame, if you have any trepidations about safety and what's it look like, sign up for one of those. Our guided park ranger hikes, because it's more than just a hike.
Right.
Educational. They tell you about the history of the park, the history of the Eternal Flame. They can answer any questions on our 10,000 acres.
They seem to know every tree.
They do. They do. When people ask me questions, either ask your park ranger, I'll defer to them. But they do a great job. And anyone that wants to know more than just the Eternal Flame, take it, ask questions. But you're going on safely guided hike the Eternal Flame. There's a FTA bus this week, leaves from downtown. 9:45 a.m. And then later this month, there's another guided Eternal Flame hike, July 29th, I believe. And then in September, early September, there's another one. So we like offering those. They get great participation.
One more question before we wrap up is, we've had some interesting partnerships with like private businesses to get more people in the parks. And one of those is with local breweries. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, that started a few years ago, and it's really developed into an annual event. We work with Resurgence 42 North, and they have Pints in the Parks events, and they obviously they partner with us to run those events in several parks. It's not always the same parks, and they're always well attended, and they're good partners. The thing that has really elevated our department to the next level, I would say, along with the full-time staff commitment and the capital commitment, is the partnerships we have. 2012, we probably had 4 legal partnerships. Today, we probably have 15 and 20. Help us maintain dog parks, help us maintain trails, help us maintain disc golf courses, help us maintain sustainable trails. So we have so many great partners that help us. And that's kind of a way to save money and help us have the investment from the community.
And that's a perfect example of why people care about parks.
Yeah.
You don't hear partnerships about maintaining roads. You don't hear partnerships about assisting with regards to healthcare. That we have that, but it's not like people saying, "Hey, I want to volunteer my time to go to a clinic to deal with someone who's got measles."
Yes.
But when it comes to the parks, people want to volunteer their time. They want to be part of a group to actually make a park better.
Yeah, great.
So once again, we've been joined by our Parks Commissioner for the Erie County Department of Parks, Recreation, and Forestry, Troy Schinzel. I want to thank him for joining us here today. This is On the Mark, a discussion on government, whether it's local, state, or national. And I guarantee you, regardless of where you live, you can go probably within a few miles of your house and find a park and get out and enjoy your parks. Just like we say, we have more than 10,000 acres to enjoy in your Erie County parks. And we hope you find your next adventure in a park near you. Take care, everyone.
And you.